Hello, everyone. Today, we are with you with a real-life story. We have changed the names of the characters in the story and the places they live. Now let's listen to Steve.
I am from Texas. I grew up in the capital and am from what you would call as lower middle class. I love fixing things. I love helping people out. It gives me a sense of importance. I had a hard childhood. I grew up in a broken home. Father was never around, but my mother helped me a lot. She ensured I got very good education. As I grew up, I studied engineering. Logic and rational thinking have always been my strength. I also used to stutter as a child, hence I was an introverted teenager. In short, I had a hard childhood, fixing compulsions, rescuer tendencies, and a people pleaser. I was the perfect prey for a narcissist girl, and this is my story. I met Jane online. We chatted for a few months, and then exchanged numbers. I loved talking to Jane. I am from a farmer family. She was born in New Jersey, and from a restaurant business family. We lived more than 1,000 miles apart. We were in love before we saw each other. Yes, I know. After knowing each other for months, Jane decided she would come to Austin for higher studies. Meanwhile, I had left my job to be in a business school close by her and take up an MBA degree. The first time we met face to face, I was in love. I loved Jane. I loved everything about her. Her long black hair, her beautiful eyes, her voice, her northern accent. So I loved Jane, and Jane loved me, or that's what she used to say. The first few months were the honeymoon period. It was bliss. It was perfect. How can someone love me so much? Me who had barely ever felt love from the outside world. I knew I would marry Jane. She meant the world to me. As the honeymoon period passed, I noticed a few unusual outbursts. I wrote them off as Jane being a bit on the sensitive side. The more I ignored the red flags, the more they grew worse. In between, tragedy struck Jane and her family. Her father passed away. She hated her father. She would talk about him in such vile manner. I used to think of him as a horrible man. But when he passed away, Jane was in terrible grief. Every night, Jane cried. I was there to console her. But no matter what I said, nothing stopped her. Her sorrow was like a bottomless pit, and the way she would put it in words, it was so profound and so deep, I found it overwhelming. As weeks passed, sorrow gave way to bickering, and bickering led to daily arguments over things which were absolutely trivial in nature. Everything was always my fault. Then came a time period when fights became a daily thing. Jane was never physically violent towards me, but what she lacked in physical aggression, she made up for in passive aggression, emotional manipulation, no-win games and shit tests. She would say the cruelest things to me, and yet pretend as if nothing happened and call me again tomorrow. I was the perfect white knight. I never fought back. How could I? Aren't men supposed to be the silent rock? Jane is a cutter. No matter how much I told her I loved her, she never stopped it. After every few weeks, she would tell me, "Last night I cut myself." These weren't tiny cuts. They went deep into her flesh. It never occurred to me she may be having psychological issues. Jane was exceptional at academics, just like me. She is a university topper and very well read. She is a high-functioning kind. You can never win an argument against her. Our relationship went from bad to worse. Honeymoon was over. That initial pink haze just disappeared, and now I was taking a daily hit from her Fogger 3000. FOG, fear, obligation and guilt. Blame games, truth distortion, emotional reasoning. Everything I said would be turned around and used against me. Then the triangulation started. Enter downgrade future boyfriend. Jane found a drug abuser. The more I tried to keep her away from him, the more she went to him. She started from alcohol and went down to hardcore drugs. It became a daily thing, and her behavior would become even more abusive. I found myself even censoring my own words. By now I wanted to say nothing at all, which could set her off. Her name on my phone would scare me. I immersed myself in studies to distract myself from all the chaos. Jane shares everything with this drug addict. They talk dirty. They share Facebook passwords. They spend all their free time together, while I am the sorrow of her life. Jane would break up with me every week and then take me back. My self-respect hit rock bottom, and I didn't have the wisdom left to ask myself why. My MBA finished, and I found a job in another state. I had to leave Jane and move for a few months until I could switch jobs and come back close to my hometown. Jane's core abandonment fear really came into play then. Jane cut me off. The other guy, he is her everything. He is what I once was. She worships him while I am discarded. I must have done something to deserve this. Maybe she is right. Maybe I couldn't understand her as she used to complain. Maybe I am insensitive and cruel. I left my home to start the job in another state. My first day there, Jane called and told me she slept with the drug addict. I felt lost. I felt my world was being burnt down. No matter how abusive Jane was to me, I loved her. She was my first love. I cried myself to sleep each night. A strange, never-ending depression took me over. I went through my workday and came back to my flat to just sit down and stare into nothing for hours. For 3 months, my eyes never really dried. Jane still called me every 2 to 3 days to tell me how fabulous her life was, how the drug addict was everything that I am not. I kept trying to tell her how I could be better. No matter what I said, I was never good enough. Then one fine day, I got a job offer in my hometown. That's it, I thought. This is my break. I could win her back now. I told her I was coming back. Jane told me she was only friends with that boy and wanted us back too. I agreed. I was happy. I would build back that honeymoon period, or so I dreamt. I landed back in Austin, only to find that Jane had changed her mind. I felt shattered into a million pieces. She would give me a ray of hope and then take it away from me. I would go halfway around Austin just to see her and talk to her, and I would find her in such an abusive mood it would be hard to believe. She would verbally abuse me for 2 hours, while all I am supposed to do is hear her out, not utter a word in explanation, and just sit there while she rants out at me. Topics of argument are just simply crazy. Me not remembering her favorite flower, me not being able to read her mind, me not caring enough about her, me not trusting her to spend time with the guy she has just slept with, me not changing my hairstyle to what she wants. How can I be so insensitive and controlling? After she is done ranting, she has to go. The part where I speak up never comes. 10 months of this on-off relationship has been nothing but me getting used to her stabbing a proverbial knife in me every now and then. There is nothing more tragic than a man chasing a narcissist. What he is actually chasing is his own destruction. Jane has cheated on me multiple times. She even directed a widespread smear campaign against me. Her friends think I am a terrible person. She has projected everything she is onto me. Jane never attacked me physically, but instead used her downgrade boyfriend to issue death threats to me. If I had not been careful, the chances of violence between him and me were very high. My life was turned into a mix of depression and fear. Then one day I finally broke down. That's the night I did it. I woke up in a hospital the next day from a failed suicide attempt. The next 2 months, my mother took care of me. I was a wreck. She kept asking me to remove Jane from my life forever, to forget her and move on. While I was idle at work, I Googled painful breakup and getting over heartbreak. One site led to another, and I found a forum. The first article I read, "Is Your Girlfriend a Narcissist?" blew me away. Everything it says matches to what went down with me. Every other article does too. I have found my beacon in pitch-black darkness. I read and read till I have read every single article and every single user comment on this site. I went no contact. In 2 months, the fog has lifted and liberation has come. It has been a year since then. Jane has tried hoovering me back many times and failed each time. Downgrade boyfriend has been dumped. All of a sudden, I am back to being the greatest thing that ever happened to her. I see through it all and block her everywhere. I told her about NPD and asked her to seek help. She denied it all and says she is fine. Where am I today? I have forgiven Jane. It is not her fault that nature made her this way. She is the wolf and I am the sheep. I have sympathy for her, but I will never go back to her. A part of my heart has seen through all her masks and sees the really hurt girl to whom life has been cruel. Nature and the abuse has shaped her into something she never chose to be. Like I said, I have sympathy for her, but I won't be her victim. Never again. To my brothers and sisters who have had a cluster B in their life, this is what I say to you. No matter what kind of hell you are living in or have been through, never take the option of ending your life. Instead, get up and keep walking forward. Keep walking forward, one step at a time.
This was Steve's story. Our real-life examples will continue in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video for the YouTube algorithm, share it with others who need to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more information about relationships and personality disorders.